Do you want to know the real truth about magic, how it works, how it feels, how to actually have more magic in your life? I'm going to tell you a secret, and that is that knowledge isn't knowing. You have to know, you have to experience it. And today I'm going to talk so deeply about how to bring more of this knowing into your field, which really is the truth about magic. You know those mystical occurrences that happen in your life, those really wild things that either happen in dream time or something you felt or known and then it actually comes true? What if I was to tell you that you could recreate those opportunities in your life to experience the real idea of magic daily, monthly, weekly? Actually, just have it a part of your life. So it's not something that just randomly happens and all of a sudden you don't know why it happened, but you actually create the environment for you to experience more magic. Then you're in the right place, because this is what we're going to talk about today. I'm Tahverlee. I'm a high priestess, a practicing witch, a social impact entrepreneur, and the founder of the Moon Temple Mystery School. You can find me anywhere on social media and at moontempleschool.com to do more of this work with me. And this is actually part 2 of some of the greatest lessons I learned by riding out a tropical storm, which was actually a hurricane when it started, called Idalia. And since I moved to an island out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, this is my first storm. And I knew all the things. I knew all the things. I prepared, I planned, I took classes. I had all the knowledge I could possibly gain on what to expect. But guess what? That compared nothing to actually knowing it because I lived it. Knowledge does not mean knowing. And that's what we're going to talk about with magic today is knowledge doesn't mean knowing. It's like when you go to a restaurant and you look at the menu and you're like, okay, that looks good. That looks good. That's knowledge. You have an idea of what you might like. You think it's going to be wonderful because it sounds great. But until you've actually tried it, you have no idea if it's good. Knowledge isn't knowing. The knowing comes from experiencing. And I'm going to tell you how to really hone in on your rituals and your practices or your spells so you develop this deep knowing as opposed to just knowledge. 90% of the people that reach out to me because they've had some sort of big magical experience. This could be why you've found me here or why you joined Mystery School, is because something occurred in your life or to you that made you go, oh my goodness, there's so much more out there than I know. I am definitely seeing beyond the veil, or I've had a peek outside of the matrix and something new has occurred and I want more. And so what we typically do is we go from that, wow, something just happened, to, okay, now I need to know more. So we start researching, we start watching videos, we start listening to podcasts. I did the same. Many years ago, I did the same. We start finding books, we start looking for more information, we look for knowledge, and we start absorbing and absorbing. And so many times we stop there. We stop in that point and we say, okay, now I know. Now I know everything there is to know about magic and my spiritual gifts. I've researched it. I know other people's experiences. And we stop there because we forget, in order to actually have greater knowing of what it is that we are researching or searching for, we have to experience it. And this is a common place where a lot of people stop. In fact, I would say that many of you that have found me at this place have come into Mystery School, or you find some place to go to actually learn. And if you haven't, you should, because the next step in this process of seeking and searching for more is to actually experience it. When I was preparing for this storm, Idalia, I felt pretty good that I knew what to expect. I felt pretty good. I had checked all the boxes of the prep. I had done all the things. And what I thought it was going to be, I could never have predicted how different it was and how it felt in my body. what I experienced, the depth at which I allowed myself to feel it, because choosing to stay in it and be present is what I recorded the first video post storm about. I chose to stay fully present to feel it. And it was nothing like anything I could describe. And this happens a lot. We have experiences that we can't actually put words to. It's like trying to describe to someone else that has never had an orange before. Try to describe to them what it's like to taste the most juiciest, wonderful bite of an orange. How would you describe that to someone? Like, what words could you give them that would give them the actual experience of tasting the orange? It's almost impossible. And that's the same thing for me in the storm. I have heard lots of stories. I knew all of the things, and nobody could have given me the words to describe how it actually felt. And this is the case for spells and rituals, for sure. That when you take on someone else's spell or someone else does a spell for you and you can't actually feel it in your own body, does it have the same impact? Unlikely. And knowing is important. The seeking stage, the research stage, the planning, the gathering of knowledge is important. So we don't discount that. I'm telling you that that's only one part. That's sometimes the first part, sometimes it comes after, but the actual knowing is the experience itself. And so when you're thinking of these magical happenings that come into your life, these mystical experiences, and you want to learn more, definitely go down the path of the seeker. Go find videos, more videos like this. Watch all the videos. Read the books. Listen to the podcasts. Probably not watch Hollywood movies because they have a place, but their description of what actually occurs is very different. But know that the true magic for you will occur when you experience it yourself in your body. And then it doesn't matter what anybody says around you or how anybody reacts to the fact that you saw a ghost or a spirit and it talked to you and you think it was your grandma and she gave you a piece of information, and then all of a sudden you need to talk about it to your friends and family because you're like, whoa, what's this? And everybody starts to discount it because they haven't experienced it. But you know that it happened because you experienced it. True magic is intentionally creating the environments for more of that. Now, you may not want to communicate with spirits. That might not be your desire. You may just wish to learn how to cast spells that actually work. You might want to know how to create anything that you desire in your life, whether it's job, relationship, more abundance, more money, more flow, more freedom to create art, more time in nature, to live in a different country or in a different home. You might want to use spell work to actually create more of what you want in your life. But first, you have to know how spells feel in your body, how it feels to create something for yourself so you can decipher alignment. You can decipher true knowing. And knowledge isn't enough to do that. So we're going to talk about two areas now. I'm going to give you two things to think about with a true idea of knowing, which is magic, in spells and rituals. And I'm separating them for a reason. Let's start with spells. When you are intentionally creating what you desire and you haven't cast a spell before, of course we can go to historic grimoires, we can go to mystery schools like mine, and I will teach you exact formulas for creating spells. For me, I do a lot of this in the Spellbinders Club, so use the link in the comments if you want to start practicing how to create and craft spells. But we need to do this from a place of knowing. And to create a spell that has an outcome that you desire, it needs to be measurable. It needs to come with some type of heightened energy at the beginning, or circle casting, or ways of working from altered states, because we can create anything we want when we know how to go into those altered states. Of course, without our own shadows leading the way, without our own fears. And that's a whole nother show. But to create from a place of what you know to be true on how you cast spells, how to track them, what kind of timelines to use. And then, of course, there's always layers. What candles, what colors, what time of the day. Yes, all of that can matter. And learning how to create something that you desire with your own form of magic is the real truth to being able to cast a successful spell. So do the research. Start making notes. Learn what you can about spells. Join the Spellbinders Club. And then practice. Because knowing is from experience. It's not just from the knowledge. So practice. Start with something small. If you haven't cast a lot of spells, start with something small. Create something that is tangible in the immediate future that you can track. Did this happen? What did it feel like in my body? What do I know to be true about this particular formula of spell? If you're working with a deity, for example, and you want to create a relationship with a specific goddess or an ancestor or a spirit, start with your first altar dedicated to that particular spirit, deity, or ancestor. Create an altar. How does it feel in your body? How are they giving you messages? Are you open to receiving? And what can you possibly do with that knowledge that you've gained from the spirit, deity, or ancestor? And what do you know to be true in how it felt? These are like templates, ways to start spells with practice. And it's okay if it didn't go exactly according to plan. That's how you know. I can give you 1,000 examples of spells that have somewhat gone the way that I wanted them to, or didn't actually come to conclusion the way that I wanted to. And I could tell you why now. Now I can tell you why, because I know. And so when I create and when I give you formulas, recipes, or rituals to do on different moon cycles or different times of the year, it's because I know, because I've experienced it. And you'll often hear me say, take what resonates and leave the rest. You should take spell rituals and formulas and make them your own. You should add your own flair to it based upon your own knowing. I still work with lots of different mentors and witches and wisdom keepers around the globe. And we talk about a lot of different ways in which we create from. And I take little pieces of that and try it in my own practice. So I'm always learning. So know that your own magic comes from you knowing what works for you. Because knowledge isn't knowing. Knowledge is power, but it isn't knowing. So that's what I suggest you do when it comes to spells and knowing. So Spellbinders Club, you can join me there. And then let's talk about rituals. Because rituals can be very different than spells. Rituals can just be, and I'm not going to talk about the daily rituals that we have, like how I blend my coffee in the morning with my intentions and mantras for the day, or how I do breath work when I first get up in the morning in order to clear my channel so I'm walking with flow and ease and grace for whatever comes my way that day. I'm not talking about those rituals. I'm talking about specific rituals that you set an intentional time aside every day as an offering, an honoring, a crossing of the veil, a creation of a circle, a way of you just finding your center and being in an activated and aligned state without an outcome. We do these very specific rituals in the High Priest and the High Priestess path. I teach you how to work with your body, words, and energy around you to really just anchor in your own magic morning and night without an intentional outcome other than just that knowing that comes from how it feels in your body to work from altered states. Now, I work from altered states all day long. I do my High Priest and High Priestess rituals in the morning as a way to open myself up to receive whatever's going to come that day. I did my rituals before I recorded this for clarity, for ease in which my body gives me information that is conveyed through my system and comes out of my mouth, out of my voice, with my air, with the breath that I bring in. So this had a little bit of an outcome attached to it. But for me, it's more just getting into a state of alignment. It's peak state for your day. It's peak state if you're going to then go ahead and cast spells. The rituals that you do that help you be in an aligned state are something that you should do because you know how they feel in your body. And if you've never done any rituals like this before, you should learn. You should learn them because there is so much power in knowing. In fact, out of all of the high priest and high priestess rituals that we do, there is one that actually creates an immediate shift in my body. It's a spoken word ritual with body movements, and embodied ritual that I do with my eyes closed. And the moment, and I can even bring myself into that state of awareness just from thinking of it because I've done it for years. It creates an immediate change, and it's one of many rituals that take me about 15 minutes each time I do the whole series of them together. But if I have 1 minute to prepare, or 1 minute to deal with the situation, or 1 minute out in nature to connect and ground, there's a specific ritual that I do. And in that one moment, in that 1 minute of that ritual, my entire energy field changes. And I know this to be true because I've been using it for so long. So I could give you these rituals. I could give you them in a printed form. I'm not going to. You have to join Mystery School for it. I could give it to you. But you wouldn't necessarily have any idea what's possible with that ritual until you experience it. This is why we do these teachings like the High Priest and High Priestess path. This is why mystery schools are months long, because we take you through the process of knowing for yourself. Instead of me just telling you this is possible, instead of me just giving to you the words to speak, I take you into containers so you can feel it. And then after that, whoa, then you bring in your own experiences. Then you navigate your own life. Then you create from a place of, this is how I create a knowing, because knowledge isn't enough. We have to experience it. There was a student in Mystery School, one of the high priestesses that have been in Mystery School for a couple of years, because we have different levels. Once you finish the High Priest and High Priestess Path 1, there's a level 2, and then there's a level 3, and then many people step into different mentoring paths or teacher paths, or a lot of people desire to set up their own spiritual businesses at that point, whether it's just a side gig or a full-time gig. It gives you all the tools to be able to work any spells or any ritual. And there's one beautiful high priestess who has been walking the path, and she knows that I channel. And she had recently been experiencing a lot of dreams that were cosmic. They were cosmic. She was astral traveling like crazy in dream time. I know that that is like the first step in being able to actually channel direct light codes from the cosmos through her body. And so in one of our recent sessions, and she knows we've talked about channeling a lot. She sees me channel. She knows what it is. She's been on the receiving end of a channeled message directly for her, because I do a lot of channeling one-on-one in sessions. She knows what it feels like to receive it. So she knows, like she has knowing of how this deep process can feel, but she hadn't actually channeled out loud herself. I knew that what she was experiencing in dream time was a form of channeling. And so I created a ritual with her. We did it together. And without giving her a lot of notice, I let her actually channel out loud. I set the container. I started the process. I dropped her into an altered state. And then I asked her to open the floodgates and just allow herself to speak what was coming through her body. And with her eyes closed, for 10 minutes, she channeled the most profound, amazing words for herself, for the collective, for her life, for her future, for me. For 10 minutes, her whole body brought this information through. And when I brought us out of it and she stepped out, I took a lot of notes for her. Her entire experience in this life as a human is now forever altered, because she knows now that she can access that anytime. It's not to say she's going to go behind a microphone and start channeling for people. She might. But for herself, she has the ability now, because she has a knowing of how it feels, how to get into that place, what rang true, And of course, for her, I suggested that she actually record herself doing the channeling so she can go back and listen to it. Because oftentimes when we are in those states and we channel, we don't remember. So I read back to her everything that she had channeled. And still, even I, now as a recipient to her channeling, I can feel in my body how profound her magic is to bring it through her body in a channeling session. And I tell you this so you know that until you've experienced certain things, magical happenings, you actually don't know the truth about magic. And so when people ask you, or when people ask me, well, mostly people ask me if I'm a good witch or a bad witch, which is really quite funny. And they ask me about magic. And they ask me about if I'm going to a cemetery, am I going to disrupt, which I would never, any of the graves? Like, people ask me these really interesting questions, but you can't know the truth about magic until you've experienced it. And even people who have these little bits of mystical experiences, they will oftentimes brush it off as a coincidence or unimportant or just a random thing. You know the truth about magic when you experience it, when you live it. And this storm, this crazy storm that I went through, brought this so fresh to my mind, such a reminder, such a lesson, that it didn't matter how much I knew. It didn't matter. I thought I knew. I thought I knew all the things. And I didn't know until I experienced it. And now I know. I know in the capacity of this particular experience. I mean, maybe that's the final caveat that we should add in, is that we know to the level of that experience. And that there's always another level to experience. Now, I recreate magic in all kinds of ways in order to just experience it, to learn from it. I definitely don't want to recreate any storms to have to experience it. I'll allow that to be what it was. But it did bring me back to this reminder, and I say this a lot in Mystery School, that you need to become a participant in your own practice in order for you to know. Watch my videos, watch other videos, read books, yes, and experience it for yourself. And so my final reminder for you is that knowledge isn't knowing. And if you want to unlock your spiritual gifts and you truly want to have this deeper understanding of how rituals and spells can be used for you, use the link below. Join the High Priest and the High Priestess path for 2024, because what we have planned for you in this 12-month process is everything that you need to know about magic, because we're going to take you there and you don't need to have any experience. And if you do have experience, great. You don't have to have any experience. We're going to take you through each step, each level, each type of elemental magic. We're going to take you so far into the ethers that your daily life is going to hardly be recognizable 1 year from the time that you start. It's like everything that you had desired to experience will be a part of your life, whatever that may be for you.